What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back to talk about another press conference from Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. As you guys can see, Campbell and Holmes kind of sounds like a comic strip or a detective. You know, detectives like, ooh, Campbell and Holmes. They're on the case. Like, we could have a cool intro like that. I don't know how I would do that. Anyways, let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're back for another press conference takeaways video where I go over my main takeaways from their presser. Now, I do have a question of the day for you guys, and this is an interesting one. I just kind of want to see which side you fall of this category. You one of the people that when you buy water bottles, that you look at the brand. Are you like, hey, is this Fiji? Is this Aquafina? You know, is this Nestle? Is this Pure Life? Oh, this is Nestle Pure Life. Bottle, you know, the bottle tops, that looks kind of cool. Like, the, you know, I feel like Aquafina has like the stronger bottles. Or you want that's like, I don't like the little flimsy ones with the light little cap. I mean, I'm just asking. I mean, I know there's like, hey, some people do, some people don't. They're like, oh, this kind tastes better. Like, do you taste a difference in water? Usually though, when I go to the store, there is no price. Like, I can't find the prices for water bottles. So I just grab one. I'm like, okay, this one's easier to carry. So, okay. Let me know. I don't know what, I just thought that was an interesting question. So let's get right into this thing, man. Let's just dive right into the takeaways. We're about a month out of the draft, which is super exciting because here's my thoughts, okay? The draft is the best time for NFL aside from the regular season. Aside from the season, the draft is the best time of the year because it's just awesome. You got about 3 days just to have tons of fun. You get to watch your team make all these selections and other teams. You see these trades and it's just a great time. All the optimism is just flying through the roof. I should be there this year in Cleveland with DoseOfDion, so it should be amazing. But anyways, let's just dive right into this thing, man. Let's start off with Brad Holmes first and what he had to say today about our Detroit Lions and some of the questions that he answered. So first off, he touched on free agency. Not done yet. Basically, we're not done yet. There's moves that we can make through up until the draft and after the draft. But free agency is still going on. We know Lions still have some money to spend if they want to do that. But they do like where they are at and what they have done so far. But he specifically touched on the cornerback position. As he said, the cornerback position is not a spot that he has overlooked. The cornerback will continue to go through. They'll continue to work on that position through the draft and possibly after the draft. But it is the position that they have not overlooked, which makes me feel good because clearly the cornerback position is one of the lightest groups, if not the lightest group, that the Lions currently have on the roster. They have like 3 cornerbacks right now: Mike Ford, Amani, and Jeff Okudah. That's what they got. It's not overlooked. It's a position that we can continue to add to. They just haven't done it yet. So we'll see. You know, we'll just wait to see what they do with that positional group. But it would not shock me if, you know, the Lions go out and make a signing. The initial buzz of free agency has calmed down. It's not over yet. You know, we've seen moves be made at this time and even later, up closer to the draft. And sometimes you sign guys after the draft. Sometimes there's guys available after the draft is, you know, teams are bringing in their drafted players and they're just kind of like, okay, we're going to cut this dude. And all of a sudden, boom, a free agency comes available. And it's nice to have money for that. You guys remember when Mike Daniels came available and we were just kind of chilling there with money and we were like, oh, Mike Daniels just came available. We can go sign him. Unfortunately, maybe it didn't work out the best, but it was an option because we had the money to do it. With all the trades that went down, we talked about the trades. You know, there was some major trades that went down in front of the Detroit Lions. He said that does not change their approach at number 7. And really why that doesn't change their approach at number 7 is because you got to know everybody available anyway, you know, in the top 7. And since he knew the quarterback class, he said it wasn't caught off guard by trades like that happening. Now, he said that specifically his phone wasn't blowing up, you know, on Friday when these trades were going down as someone to trade up with, potentially. So he wasn't necessarily involved, from what he said, as much in the trade process and what was really going down on Friday when all these teams were moving around and really just shuffling up the top 7, or I should say, you know, the 3rd pick, the 6th pick, and the 12th pick in the draft. He said his phone wasn't blowing up, but it's something that he was prepared for, knowing all the players. But it really doesn't change his approach because, again, still knows what's available, yet to still know what's out there when you're inside the top 10. That's about Kenny Gallaudet. A lot of people want to know about what happened there with Kenny Gallaudet. Why was Gallaudet not brought back? And he touched on, you know, not tagging and trading him because it is hard with tagging and trading because you're not really sure what you're going to get in return. But he simply said this, not bringing back Kenny Gallaudet. He was happy that Gallaudet went out there and got that big contract. You know, I didn't think Gallaudet was, I really struggled to see him being brought back, especially once Romeo was re-signed, you know, Romeo Cora. I was like, it's going to be tough to bring back Kenny Gallaudet. I would love it, but it's just going to be very difficult, and I had myself prepared for it, even though Gallaudet gave us 4 really awesome years with Detroit. He did say that the wide receiver class was deep and that there was depth in the free agency position for receiver. So it was kind of one of those things where they looked at it and said, okay, there's ability to add here, and we just I guess, he didn't say it straight up, but we didn't basically need to spend that much money on a receiver because we felt like there was depth in the draft and free agency. And obviously, we saw that the Giants ended up giving Kenny Gallaudet a lot of money. So that speculation was out there that was like, Gallaudet's not going to get paid what he wants. Gallaudet got paid a lot of money. Gallaudet still got the bank from the New York Giants. So happy for the Giants, happy for Gallaudet that he was able to get his big payday. It's unfortunate he's not a Lion, but it did kind of make sense financially. But either way, the Detroit Lions, they don't have Kenny Gallaudet anymore. That they definitely has focused on that receiver position as they have signed like 4 receivers. They've signed 4 receivers, I think, so far. And honestly, Dan Campbell kind of broke down each signing and kind of where they came from. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But regardless, there was clearly a focus for them, they said, on speed, bringing speed. And they said Jared Goff probably won't have a problem with bringing in all this speed. They really go in with the speed that the Lions have been signing at the receiver position. If you've honestly watched any of the receiver film videos or even the Goff videos, you'll kind of know, how this really fits the strengths of what Jared Goff is. Those types of receivers have had a lot of success with Jared Goff in the past. Those type of guys that really can just get a lot of separation. And I think a great example there would be Brandon Cooks. So the Lions have been bringing in those types of receivers. They want more speed on the field. And it's definitely a different approach from what we had with our past, regimes and the kind of receivers we brought in there when you talk about Kenny Gallaudet, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola. Gallaudet and Marvin, great receivers, but they're not necessarily the speed guys. They're more of the 50-50, go up and get it type of receivers. And, both those guys can work. They're just a little bit different. They can fit different strengths of different types of quarterbacks. Amendola, not the fastest type of slot guy, but he had great hands. He's a very reliable target. Lions went a little bit differently there, except for the fact that they have Quintez Cephas, who I think could actually start a slot. But clearly, again, like I said, the Lions have been bringing in speed type of receivers that can stretch the field, but also get a lot of separation. Give us some interesting background. They talked about Ratley and, of course, the, connection that he has with John Dorsey, who is now working the Detroit Lions when he drafted Damian Ratley. So there's a clear connection there. An interesting story about Rashad Perriman saying that he kind of quick snapped us. Kind of just ran it kind of quickly, didn't really give it a 3-second count, just got down in the stance and went, and it could have led to some faster times. But when they ultimately got to see him do it again, it wasn't a 4.2s, it was like a 4.25 40 that he ended up eventually running, which he said is like, the fastest that he's seen from a guy that big. That kind of speed is something that interested the Detroit Lions. And, he has a connection, as Dan Campbell would bring up later, with Antoine Randall L. All these guys the Lions have signed, a lot of them have had connections with the Detroit Lions staff somewhere. Wrap it up with a few things that Brad Holmes said, that he said that, one pride does deserve the best, which is always good. We deserve the best. Hopefully we get the best. Let's get some winning here, right? We all want some winning here in Detroit. And he said that, they have stuck to the plan. All the moves that they have made have been intentional. This has been part of a plan that they've drawn out a while ago. So that's good. They're sticking to their plan. They're happy with how it's going. They've been looking for guys with grit, guys with a chip on their shoulder, which Dan Campbell will go into much later. And of course, speed. They've been bringing in a lot of speed. We've seen that. And they brought up guys like Tim Boyle. Both of them actually brought up Tim Boyle, saying Lance Newmark was one of the guys. So all these guys that they've been bringing in, for the most part, have had connections somewhere. And someone have brought it to their attention that they should be interested in this guy. And that's why they signed him. And they told us that, right? They told us that before free agency kicked off, that bringing in guys with connection is intriguing. It really is, because necessarily what their weaknesses are. It feels good about the options that are there at number 7, but of course you always have to keep it open to a trade. So we're not really sure where their Lions are going to go at number 7, but that was part of their plan, is to have it open so they didn't have to draft needs, something again Dan Campbell kind of went back into. They don't want to have to draft needs. They want to be able to draft AKA the best player available, which everybody has their own best player available, but someone that, when they're sitting there, if everybody loves this guy, they can take him and they can, see the role and fit for each player that they draft. I guess I'll wrap up the Brad Holmes talk with another draft point, and this was on players with character issues or character concerns in the past, or things that may have gone on in the past. And you knew with the question, who he was talking about. He's clearly talking about Micah Parsons, but Brad Holmes not going to go into any specifics, because there's multiple guys in the draft that have this. Every year there's guys that have backgrounds like this, where maybe they have something that happened in the past, and then, people wonder if they're going to select, if they'll fall. Sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't fall. And Brad Holmes kind of kept it to, obviously not going into specifics here, but kept it to that every case is different. It's case-by-case situations, and you really have to dig into it. You have to dig into it to try to figure out the details. You talk to a lot of different people, Dan Campbell went into this a little bit as well, that you really try to just find all the information you can. Talk to people that maybe work with those guys in the past, really figure out what kind of chain of events led to the headlines that are out there with these players, and just try to get to the bottom of it, because we know headlines are to grab your attention. So sometimes it's not exactly what you were expecting. I think Dan Campbell made it kind of clear that they don't want guys that are, not great locker room pieces. I don't think many teams do, but clearly the Detroit Lions don't want to have that. Now Dan Campbell didn't use the finest of lingo. Of lingo? What the heck is lingo? The pinky? Come on now. It's always fancy when you got your pinky up.
Want to be fancy? Hold your pinky up like this. The higher you hold it, the fancier you are.
He didn't want turds in the locker room. How many coaches do you know are going to straight up say, with the statement that we don't want turds in the locker room? Oh, okay, well, all right, that's how it is. And you don't want that. You're right. You don't want that in the locker room. So the Lions will do their due diligence. They'll do whatever they can to figure out about the background and what's really going on in each situation, because it is case by case. And then that moves us on to Dan Campbell, okay? That moves us on to Dan Kneecap Campbell. And we had to see what he had to say. First off, he touched on Big V. All right, this was like a housekeeping question. I think that Dave Burkett always has the housekeeping questions, okay? Let's give a clap for Dave Burkett, because Dave Burkett asked these housekeeping questions. And again, I have to bring this back, is that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, what I love about their answers is that they're just not afraid to give you the answers. Now, of course, they're not going to sit there and tell you, hey, here's who I'm drafting at 7. Here's exactly what the plan is and how they feel it. So I love that. I love it. It makes the answers more entertaining, and you get more straightforward answers, which is awesome. This is what Dan Campbell had to say, starting off with Big V first. Ask him about Big V. And, of course, it's very early, and it's something that, depending on who you bring in, really change. But they have spoke with Big V, Vitae, about what position that he could potentially play next season. And he did say that he is intrigued about the thought of moving him to the guard position, which is, if you guys go check out my video, it's kind of something that I like to fit. I do like to fit at guard for Big V next season, letting him play those reps, because just the mentality that he brings, just the Mauler mentality, just how dominant he can be as a run blocker from time to time. I really like him at that guard spot more than the tackle position, because I feel like it brings more dominance out of his game and allows him to showcase it from play to play, especially if we're going to be run heavy. I feel like, there's still consistency that needs to be added with that. You can go see my video. I kind of broke down how I felt about his play, but I do like the thought of putting him at guard. However, we know it's early, and he's going to kind of let him battle it out. And of course, they never really talk about Logan Stenberg. I mean, no one talks about Logan Stenberg. What does it take to hear about Logan Stenberg? I want to know about Mr. Nasty. Can someone please talk? Someone needs to ask a question about Logan Stenberg, please. They never bring this guy up. Regardless, he said he kind of battled it out, but they are intrigued by the thought of moving him to guard. There's no excuse, because every team, they're going through all this COVID stuff. We're not sure what the offseason is going to look like. We know first-time coaches usually get to meet with their team early, but there's no excuse for it. They're not going to use it as an excuse. And honestly, I might as well touch on this point then at the same time, is that we don't look at this as we have a free pass for this season. Our job is to go out there and find a way to win games, but mainly improve from the first week to the last week of the season. We know there's going to be 17 games this season, which is amazing, an extra game. I mean, even if you're not making the playoffs, at least you get an extra game, but it keeps it more enticing throughout the year. Is that, okay, all right, team's still in it. Hey, we're still in it, we still have a chance to make the playoffs. Hopefully we're not in that where it's like, oh, week 8, we have 1% chance. Like, that's not where you want to be. With all these one-year signings, it's one of those things where he's straight up and honest about the players, where it's just an opportunity for those guys. And, he thinks bringing in all these one-year deals, there's nothing saying that they can't go re-sign these guys back if they wanted to, but it's an opportunity. All of these guys have a chip on their shoulder. And really, he said it's not affecting the future because they are one-year deals, but these are guys that come in, they set the tone, and it does leave an imprint on some of these young guys, because he said this is the kind of experience, we know Dan Campbell was a former player, so he knows what he's talking about. This is the kind of experience that these young guys get, and they can take that with them wherever they go. And of course, you leave a good impression on these free agents that even if after this season they're gone and they're going elsewhere, they know that you kept it straight up honest with them, that, hey, you're getting an opportunity here. This is a one-year deal, so you got to prove yourself. Everybody knows that the salary cap and the market can jump back up, so this is an opportunity for you to do your thing, and players will appreciate that honesty, where it's not, hey, we're going to, because that's the worst thing. You don't want, as a player or coach, telling you, you're going to be here for a while. You got this part of the future. This is the kind of role you're going to have. And straight up and lie to them. Players like that honesty. You're going to be this for us, and then all of a sudden you're not. Okay, players don't want to hear that. So they do appreciate the honesty and truth. And again, he kind of dove into all the signings and where the connections are. Lance Newmark bringing up Tim Boyle as someone that they should look at. Terrell Williams being a Ray Agnew type of guy. Now, hey, look, Dan Campbell pronounced it as Alex Anzalone. It don't matter. Either way, I think both are still open. If you want to say Anzalone, cool. If you want to say Anzalone, that's awesome. Anzalone sounds like a pasta. Anzalone sounds just more like Anzalone. Like, ooh. Like, leave me alone. I'm Angela. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. In terms of Jamal Williams, you need to have another back. Thank you for understanding, Dan Campbell. I love it. You need to have another back, which is what the Lions got. But he's one of those guys that brings energy that everybody can feed off of for Detroit. And you could see that in his presser. Wow. I mean, this guy was smiling the whole time. We were getting off track, but it was entertaining. It was one of the more entertaining pressers in its own way that I have seen in a very long time. On this roster, though, these one-year deals, everybody's got something to prove. Everybody's got that chip. They all have something to prove. All the free agents that they bringing in, whether that's a team let them go, no one's giving that big contract. Here's the place where they can kind of, I guess, take that anger out in some way and just say, hey, I deserve, to get a big contract. I can still ball. And now they get that opportunity to showcase that with Detroit. And he said, basically, this is a perfect landing spot. But he does appreciate that these guys have been, taking a little bit of a leap of faith to kind of come with a, new coaching staff, new regime, new GM. These guys that are all kind of a little bit new to it. I mean, Dan Campbell's not extremely new, but it's a leap of faith a little bit because there are new coaches for the Detroit Lions. They haven't been here for 10 plus years. But at the same time, he says he kind of thinks that players are kind of understanding what they're building here, what they're going towards. I kind of like the direction that things have been going so far. I like the way that the Lions have been building things so far, but I do hope that cornerback position is something the Lions do take into account. Talk about the linebacker position, he said bring in Anzalone. That's the way he says it. Anzalone was a good step in the right direction. Bringing in that kind of linebacker was a good start. They love Jalen Reeves-Maben for special teams, but not only special teams, but also because of his smarts, but his effort on the field. And Sean Dean Hamilton, someone that was already brought in here on a futures contract that's here with them. He can bring some special teams. They do like what they have in the linebacker group, but it's, again, something that said we're not done. It doesn't necessarily mean we're done because of the moves that we've made so far. There's still, of course, opportunities for the Lions with what they can do with the linebacker group, but it could range from, going heavy at linebacker to going extremely light at linebacker. I think Anzalone was a beautiful move. I love the fact that they brought in Alex for this linebacker group, and of course, Jamie brings him that versatility where he can kind of just do it all. We know Jamie Collins can kind of play any scheme, anything you need to do with him. Pass rush, drop into coverage, run stop. I mean, he just can kind of do it all. He's a kind of do it all. And, that for the Lions, it was able to open up a space by restructuring his contract. I thought that was a solid move because, he's going to be here and he can just kind of fit wherever you need him. And he's just kind of plug in and play. I'm going to give you some good play as long as I'm not headbutting referees. The numbers and the stats will come out later, but what do you see on the film? And yes, a lot of these guys didn't have a 2020 season, but that, again, won't keep them away from drafting them. Yes, it's a little bit more projection, but if he could ball, he was balling, and he's more of the eye test guy. Meanwhile, you look at a guy like Brad Holmes, he's all about the analytics, the stats, and he says, okay, why are the stats what they are? Why are the analytics saying what they're saying? And then we want to go dive back into that. So, he's more the analytics guy, kind of all the numbers, and Dan Campbell's the kind of guy that's like, hey, I'm more of the eye test kind of person. So, you got a nice little mix there, and that should honestly help work really well because you got one guy who wants to dive into the eye test. Here's what I feel. Here's what I see on this player. The other guy says, hold up, here's what the analytics say. Let's take a look at this again and see why these maybe are matching up or why they are matching up and why this works out perfectly. So nice answer. Again, I think it was a really nice presser. It wasn't any kind of kneecap biting type of presser, but it was something that was entertaining, and I just like how they give us some nice answers that we can talk about. So let me know your thoughts, comments below. How'd you feel about it? What do you guys think about these takeaways that I just gave to you? I think these were the main points. Thank you, Brad, for watching, and I'm out. My goodness. Are you serious? Oh, and my guys. Oh, my dude. I see all of you guys. Oh, I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry. What's up, man? Oh, my God. Come on, dude. All y'all all pros. You guys are all legends for this. What? This is getting me hyped. This is getting me hyped. Come on, man. Make me want to drink some Kool-Aid, Oh, my goodness. How many? My guy. What's going on? I see you. Oh, my goodness. Hall of Fame. Here we have this many Hall of Fame. I didn't even know it. I seriously did. I mean, I can't say thank you enough. This is insane. Thank you. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I don't even know what to do with my hands. Should I fold them? Should I thumbs up?